Hello everyone and welcome back to the NBA Debates and Opinions YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing my 2019 NBA mock draft. I'm going to be going through the top 14 picks in the NBA, so the draft lottery. We're going to be going through each pick and why each team will be selecting this player and what this player will add to that team. This is not an easy video to do. Again, this video is purely my opinion. Every single thing that I say is my opinion. If you disagree with anyone that I say in this video, or if you think a player will go somewhere else, that's fine. Make sure you let me know down below who you think will go where, which ones in this video, which players that I say you think will be different. There are a couple that I've thrown in that might not happen, but it's just I've thrown a couple of curveballs just because I want to be a bit different. Also, I think what I'm going to do after the NBA draft happens, I'm going to be doing a video where I look back at all the draft selections, the top 14, and see how far off with some of them that I am and how many I get right. So this is more of a prediction, also information styled video, as I'm going to be letting you know why I feel like each team should be picking this player. I have a fair idea, most of you know where I'm going with this number one pick. In saying that, the top 3 picks are pretty self-explanatory, as all 3 teams have pretty much openly said who they're going to draft. It will still go through them though. The number 1 pick, the New Orleans Pelicans, will obviously, in my opinion, take Zion Williamson. Zion averaged almost 23 points per game this year with 9 rebounds, and he also got 2 steals a game. The best thing about Zion, in my opinion, and why I feel like he's going to be such a great player in his first year in the NBA, first game in the NBA, I feel like his energy is the best asset about Zion's game. It's not his dunking, it's not anything, it's literally about his energy and what he brings to the floor. When he gets those massive dunks on the offense and those monstrous blocks on defense, it just energizes the whole team. That energy is so contagious, and I feel like he can really progress the team up. Now, I don't know if Anthony Davis will be playing alongside him or if he'll be playing alongside some other players. That we all don't know yet. But I feel like no matter who's on that team, Zion will be having a very good rookie season. Number 2, the Memphis Grizzlies. Again, another simple one. I think they'll be taking Ja Morant. Ja Morant had a really good year this year at Murray State. He went from almost not even getting an offer to play at college, and he got an offer at a small college. He really picked it up. He wasn't really that well known for the whole college season, and then once it got into March Madness and he started to perform and he rose his game up to that next level, I'm pretty sure he had not that many Instagram followers, and after his one game where he had a triple-double in March Madness, he gained over 100,000 followers overnight just off that triple-double alone, which is crazy, and now he's one of the most popular guys in the draft, and I feel like he's going to be a very, very good NBA player. Ja Morant is also the first player in NCAA college basketball to average 10 assists per game since the early 1990s, which is, if you can think about all of the great point guards that have come since the early 1990s, there he is alongside some great talent, so that is something special in itself. Pick number 3, the New York Knicks. This is the last one of the, I would say, obvious sort of picks, and that's for me is going to be RJ Barrett. Again, he averaged 23 points per game alongside Zion, and what I think is interesting about RJ and Zion, they both average an exact 22.6 points per game, both of them, and they're on the same team. That's crazy that they average the exact same to the decimal. I think RJ Barrett gives you a bit of everything. He averaged 23 points per game, he had 7 to 8 rebounds, and he had about 5 assists a game, which he gives you that bit of everything, and that's what a lot of teams would want. And obviously, he's not the Duke forward that the New York Knicks would have wanted to have drafted, but I think RJ Barrett is still going to be a very good NBA player, and he has a very big upside. And I can't wait to see what he does in the NBA either. Moving on to the 4th pick. This one is a bit of a hard one. I've seen a lot of mock drafts online, and I'm seeing a lot of people guessing that they reckon DeAndre Hunter could be on the cards for the Lakers, but I don't think the Lakers will take DeAndre Hunter. First of all, I feel like the Lakers will trade this pick, so I don't even think they will draft this pick, but if we're pretending that they're not going to trade it, and no one in the draft is going to trade any picks, I feel like the best fit out of these rookies for the Lakers to take is Jarrett Culver. And I feel like Jarrett Culver is the best player to take because he's a shooting guard, and I think if you look at the Lakers starting lineup right now, without doing any trades, a shooting guard is probably the most lacking position. And I think that Jarrett Culver could be exactly what that, again, if they keep this pick, which I don't reckon they will, Jarrett Culver's the guy to go. He's a great 3-and-D option. He plays really good defense, really gritty defense, and I feel like that for the Lakers team, if you put him in a backcourt with Lonzo Ball, that's a really good defending young backcourt. Also, he's a pretty good three-point shooter, which obviously everyone knows is what the Lakers need right now. Their three-point shooting in the last 2 seasons, they have been one of the worst three-point shooting teams. So I think Jarrett Culver could be the way to go for the Lakers. Jarrett Culver is never, in my opinion, I don't think he will ever be a number one option sort of guy. I just don't see him to be like that. Obviously, he could, you just never know. But, the guard coming out of Texas Tech, I think that the best role for him is just that 3-and-D guy. And I think he could be a big, big player to have, a good squad player to have on that Lakers team. With the 5th pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is where I personally see DeAndre Hunter falling. I feel like a small forward is a good position for the Cavs to draft at. Obviously, they need a lot of positions right now. But I feel like DeAndre Hunter could be that style. 6'7", he's a great player, DeAndre Hunter. He was a good three-point shooter. He shot about 38% from college, which in college, isn't the greatest. But 38% is, obviously in the NBA level, 38% is a pretty good shooting percentage. College line is a bit closer. But I feel like he is a great shooter, and I think the Cavs can build around him. I think DeAndre Hunter would be a good player for them to start around. Obviously, they have the likes of Shetty Osman, but I think if you could probably play Shetty and DeAndre Hunter in the same lineup with obviously Colin Sexton, I think their team has a bit of upside. Obviously, I still think they'll be probably one of the worst teams in the NBA next season, if not the worst, but give him a few years, DeAndre Hunter, if he pans out, I feel like he could be a good player for this team. Also, he's a really tenacious defender. He can play on guards, he can play on forwards, and I feel like that's a really big asset for an NBA player. If you can switch, that's mainly what the defending is in the NBA right now. If you can switch, you can play on an NBA team. You've got to be able to switch. You've got to be able to guard point guard, shooting guard, small forwards, power forwards. You've got to be able to guard everyone. And DeAndre Hunter is that. He has shown that he can guard guards and forwards. So I feel like that's the smart pick for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Pick number 6 is the Phoenix Suns. And I feel like this one's probably a no-brainer. Darius Garland for me. The Suns have had a point guard problem for a very long time since they traded Eric Bledsoe. He did have a pretty bad injury, but before that he was playing really good. He's not as what's known as a pass-first point guard. He only averaged about 3 assists per game. He has a great three-point shot, and I feel like if you put him next to Devin Booker, who knows what could happen. Now, like I said, about his defense isn't the greatest, and his passing isn't the greatest, so it's not the best defensive backcourt by any means with Devin Booker. But Devin Booker averaged almost 7 assists per game this season, which is incredible for a shooting guard. So I feel like he wouldn't be a bad player to put alongside Devin Booker, as Devin Booker can do a lot of the playmaking also, and they can sort of feed off each other. The 7th pick in the draft, the Chicago Bulls. Again, the Bulls and the Lakers, obviously a lot of speculation about trading Lonzo Ball for this 7th pick. Who knows what's going to happen, but like I said, I'm not talking about any trades this video, just drafts, and I feel like if the Bulls keep the 7th pick, it's a pretty obvious Kobi White is definitely the player they will go with, as they do have that point guard problem. He averaged about 16 points and 4 assists per game, which isn't the greatest. He shot around 35% from 3, which is a decent percentage. Kobi White, he had his moments in college, and I feel like the Bulls need a good point guard, and I feel like at the 7th pick, he is the best player available. Obviously, Darius Garland, I feel like, is a little bit better than Kobi White, but I think, like I said, the Suns will take Darius Garland, so I think Kobi White will be the best available point guard for the Bulls to take. The Bulls really do need a better point guard. I don't think Chris Dunn is the point guard that they really want right now. I think his decision-making is one of his best assets. He's a very smart player, and he is a very all-round player, which I do like about his game. And the fact that he is a very fast player, he likes to push the pace a lot, I think that will help the Chicago team. Playing with Zach LaVine, Otto Porter, I think those guys like to push the pace a lot because they are a very young team. So I think he would slot in with the Chicago lineup very nicely. With the 8th pick, the Atlanta Hawks. Interesting one, but I feel like they should take Cam Reddish. Now, Cam Reddish, obviously at the start of the year before the college season, he was predicted to be maybe even a top 3 pick, top 5 pick. He did have a bit of a disappointing season this year, but obviously you can't expect to, perform that well when you're playing alongside Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett getting all of the spotlight. A player like him, I feel like Cam Reddish would be a great fit on the Atlanta Hawks, playing with Trae Young, John Collins. I think Cam Reddish would be a good player because he can just spot up. He's a 6'8" shooting guard, which is a very good size for a shooting guard. Obviously, he can play the small forward too. But I think if you put him with Trae Young, I think that could be a really dangerous backcourt in the future. There's a lot of upside. So I think that they should go with Cam Reddish as his good shooter. Doesn't need a lot of touches. He's one of those players one of those shooting guards that can affect a game hugely without having that many touches, which is huge for their Atlanta Hawks, as Trae Young has the ball majority of the time. And if he doesn't, it's normally going to John Collins. With the 9th pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards should go with Jackson Hayes. I think they should go with Jackson Hayes purely as he is a 6'11 power forward. He's got a really big frame, and he's a great defender and a great shot blocker. I feel like the Wizards need a good power forward. They need a lot of positions now. They need a better small forward, power forward, and probably center too. But with the likes of Thomas Bryant coming through, I don't think Bol Bol is the right fit, and I feel like Jackson Hayes is the best power forward that will be available at this point. So I feel like for the Washington Wizards, that is the best pick available for them. The 10th pick, the Atlanta Hawks, they can take a risk, and I feel like that risk could be Bol Bol. At the start of the video, I said that there could be a couple of curveballs I throw in, and this is one of them. Bol Bol could drop down to anywhere between 15th to 20, because although Bol Bol had a crazy start to the season, he averaged 21 points with about 10 rebounds and 3 blocks a game, and he's a 7'2" center that shot 57% from 3. So if you think about that, he should be going a lot higher just off those numbers, but he only played 9 games. His season got cut short with a serious foot injury, so that is why a lot of teams might veer away from him, as it is a very, very risky selection. But like I said, the Atlanta Hawks have 2 top 10 picks. I feel like they're the team to take that selection, and they aren't the strongest at center position, whereas the next best player available is probably Brandon Clark, who is a power forward, and they do have John Collins, so I don't think that they will go with him. That's why I think Bol Bol could be the right selection for the Atlanta Hawks. The 11th pick, like I just said his name just before, I feel like it is Brandon Clark. Now, I could be wrong here, but I think that Brandon Clark could be the best selection, purely because the other guys that are available I don't think are the best fits for them, as they do have Karl-Anthony Towns at center, and they have Andrew Wiggins at small forward. I don't think they should go with a center or a small forward that I will be mentioning a bit later. So I feel like Brandon Clark, with his 6'8" body frame, he's a very big player, a very lengthy player, and length in the NBA is a very good asset to have. And I feel like he'll be a really good fit next to Karl-Anthony Towns. Karl-Anthony Towns isn't the best defender, we all know that. So I feel like Brandon Clark's defense and his shot blocking and his ability to just space out the defensive floor and protect the paint and help Cat, I feel like they will slot next to each other very nicely. So it could be one to look out for. The next pick in the draft is the Charlotte Hornets. I'm probably going to butcher this name a lot, so I'm really sorry if I pronounce this wrong, but I do know him because I play a lot of 2K. His name is Sekou Doumbouya. Is that, I think, somewhat around the way you pronounce it? Small forward coming out of France. He's, I think, probably another one. He's a bit of a risk, but he has a lot of promise and a lot of upside. So it's a bit of a high risk, high reward, same as Bol Bol. The Hornets are lacking a bit in that small forward part. They have got Miles Bridges, who is a great player, but I feel like him and Doumbouya could play on the same lineup together. He's a 6'9" small forward, but he does have great ball handling ability. So I feel like that's a great way to side their team, as Kemba Walker could be leaving. Bringing in a forward that can handle the ball would be a great way for Charlotte to go about this draft. I'm going to go with Miami Heat with PJ Washington. Although I feel like Romeo Langford might be the slightly better player, the Miami Heat do have Josh Richardson, who's a great guard in my opinion. His defense is really good, and he's a really good offensive player as well. So I think that they might go with PJ Washington and go with that 6'8" power forward. PJ Washington, for a power forward, he's an excellent three-point shooter. He averaged about 15 points per game, 7.5 rebounds a game, and he shot about 42% from three-point range, which, as a modern-day player at the power forward 6'8", who can knock down a three ball at that high of a clip, I think he's a perfect player in the NBA, and I think Miami would be pretty silly to pass up on him. To round out the lottery, the Boston Celtics. Now, I feel like the Boston Celtics will go, and what I think they'll go with is Romeo Langford. Now, Romeo Langford is a shooting guard, and they do have a little bit of guard play, but like I said, the Boston Celtics, Kyrie Irving, Terry Rozier, both free agents this offseason, I feel like they might go with Romeo Langford, and that's who I'm going to go with, as he did average 16.5 points, almost 17 points a game, with about 5 rebounds. It was pretty poor from three-point range. He was only 27% from three, but he did shoot around 50% from the field. At the start of the year, he was a very high prospect, but I feel like he might drop down to about 14th, maybe even lower. He could go higher, but in my opinion, I think the Celtics are the team to take him, as they have a couple of guards that are free agents this offseason. They might need backup in this position. Saying that, I feel like there is 3 other players who could be taken in the lottery. These are not, does not help out my suggestions. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But 3 guys who I think could make the lottery are Kevin Porter Jr., Rui Hachimura, I can't pronounce his name. I try, guys. I really can't. I never could. And Nazir Little as well. If you guys would change anything in this mock draft, please let me know. But I feel like this is probably the best. I feel like I've done okay with this. But yeah, like I said, if you would change anything, please let me know who you would change and why, and who you think will go where. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, please like and comment what you thought of the video and what other videos you'd like to see in the future. But thank you, everyone. Take care.